with Russ Anber. Hi, everybody. Welcome to In This Corner with Russ Anber. I'm Joe Tilley, sitting in for Darren Detition with, of course, the coach, Russ Anber. And, Coach, the Emmys were held this week. I was expecting to hear your name called.
No, we're going to save ours for the Gemini, and I'm under category for best boxing show in the country. Huh? Right?
Hey, no question about that at all. You know, it's called the State of the Union south of the border. It's a chance for American citizens to tune in for an hour-long speech of political talking points constantly interrupted by canned applause. For us, it's called dinner time. On this show, the State of the Union is an opportunity for us to update the careers of our best fighters. With a possible world title coming Canada's way this week in South Africa, we look at the forecast for some of our top guns on the world stage.
With Steve Molitor knocking on the door of a world title this Thursday in South Africa, several other Canadians are lining up behind the undefeated bantamweight with world title aspirations of their own. Leading the charge is the explosive Lucien Boutte, who's been filling Montreal's Bell Center and flattening opponents at the same time. Ranked as high as number 4 by the various sanctioning bodies, Boutte's shot at glory could come as early as next year in a division that looks to break wide open. Top-ranked junior middleweight Joachim Alcine is nicely positioned as the mandatory contender for title holder Jose Rivera. After easily decisioning Javier Mamani to earn the top spot earlier this summer, Alcine is quickly finding out that waiting is indeed the hardest part. Unheralded light heavyweight Adrian Diaconu is finally gaining the respect after fighting much of his career in the shadows. The Romanian-born slugger has always seemed to take a back seat to his fellow countrymen, but while he's been in the shadows, his opponents have been very much in the dark, as the slugger has compiled a 22-0 record and moved up as high as number 5 in the rankings, passing even Roy Jones in that regard. We might be very hesitant in saying that he's better than the Great One, but he is proving to be a force to be reckoned with. Expect him to have a shot at anybody topping the division right now. After only 14 fights, super lightweight Herman Ngojo has found himself very much in the mix at 140 pounds. A win over Emmanuel Augustus saw the chiseled youngster take it to the veteran for most of the fight. Since then, Ngojo has been hard to match up. Not even an ESPN headline appearance could draw the opposition out of the woodwork. Expect more of the same for Ngojo, as promoter feels that even if he loses, he still has the talent and is young enough to keep progressing and keep getting better. After beating O'Neal Bell on everybody's scorecards but the judges, Dale Brown now needs a significant victory or two to get himself back in the mix. Look for super middleweight Jean Pascal to make significant strides in the next year to place himself on the doorstep as well. And finally, with Steve Molitor poised for a world championship this week in South Africa, could we be looking at an all-Canadian world title matchup with the talented Sébastien Gauthier in Montreal?
Coach, that's quite a collection of talent. Which of these fighters do you think has the best opportunity of winning a world title?
Well, I think right now the most deserving guy, and I say this deserving from a legal perspective, is Joachim Alcine. He's ranked number 1 in the world. He is the mandatory guy. He had the fight to determine that he's the mandatory opponent to Jose Rivera's crown. So right now he's sitting there in the best position, being the number 1 guy. The other 2 guys out there that we spoke about, and certainly the guy that I like, and you all know I like him, is Lucien Boutte. I mean, the performance from this guy, Joe, has been phenomenal, and we were discussing this the other day, and I defied anybody to tell me to name a Canadian fighter in the short period of time, we're talking now 17 pro fights for Boutte, who has fought the caliber of opposition that he has fought. Nobody has fought the caliber of opposition this early in his career that Boutte has fought, and he's really waking up eyes in the South, and Dan Rayfield is even high on him as well at ESPN.com, so he's certainly making some noise.
Okay, now, are enough of our fighters hitting the radar on the international scene?
Yeah, I think they actually are. No doubt about it. They're starting to take notice, and they're noticing that there's a lot of fighters coming out of Canada and a lot of shows happening in Canada. Believe me, we're definitely making our mark out there. And even with fighters like Dale Brown, Molitor now fighting, the Canadians are certainly being recognized, brother. There's no doubt about it.
All right, Coach, when we come back on In This Corner, we'll talk with Yvonne Michel, one of Canada's top promoters. You are looking at Canadian fighters with one of our country's heavy hitters on the promotional side of the sport. Joining Russ for a chat about his fighters is Yvonne Michel, the head of the Montreal-based Gym Group, one of Canada's leading boxing stables.
Okay, Yvon, obviously the first thing I want to talk to you about, and it's the story that's made the most news recently, is the situation with Joachim Alcin and Jose Rivera. Can you shed a little light on that for us?
You know, the former champion Travis Sims is made out-of-court settlement with the WBA, and one of the part of that settlement was that he had required to fight Jose Antonio Rivera for the WBA title. So we were asked by the WBA if we could step aside for a short period of time and during that time, Rivera and Sims are going to fight each other. And Alcin is promised to fight the winner of Rivera-Sims within 90 days. And that fight has been called no later than October. So it's a little delay, unexpected delay for Joachim, but we have decided to go along with it because, you know, Travis Sims was the champion, and his battle with the WBA cost over 2 years of his career, and we didn't want to be in the same kind of position with Joachim.
So does that mean that Joachim will stay active while waiting for his title shot?
We haven't answered that question yet. We have a meeting next week all together. Joachim I tell you, he was not happy, so he's got to digest that last decision, and we'll make a decision about that sometime next week.
Does Joachim, or do you have a preference as to whether he fights Rivera or Sims?
Both are very good. Sims is undefeated, is left-handed. We know that Joachim loves to fight left-handers, so I think it's going to be a close fight between the two, and I'm very confident that Joachim can beat both of them.
Another fighter that you have that's on the cusp of a world title fight is Herman Ngojo. Tell us a little bit about the plans for him.
First step for Herman, we have an agreement. He's going to fight on September 15 in England on the undercard of Junior Witter against DeMarcus Corley. We know that these fighters are going to box for the WBC vacant super lightweight title. Herman is ranked not too far behind. He's ranked number 5 or number 6 right now. So it's going to be a good opportunity for him to fight and to see these fighters to fight abroad. And after that, the plan is to keep him active. He's got another date in October in Lac Lémy, and then another one in December in Montreal.
So is there any possibility that we'll see Herman Ngojo in a world title fight sometime in 2007? Is that the plan?
I'm pretty confident that we will be able to come to an agreement. It's going to depend really who's going to win between Witter and DeMarcus Corley. We have better relationship, I could say, with Mick Hennessy, who is Witter's promoter. But if Witter win, it's going to be really a step much closer for a title fight for Herman. If it's Corley, we will have to go probably through the elimination process, which might take a little longer. But at the end of 2007, well, our wish is to have Herman in the mandatory position or to have an opportunity as in an optional previously.
Okay, Yvon, you've made great strides in bringing boxing to a level that's really rivaled only by Nevada, California, maybe New Jersey. It's really right up there with those places. Talk to us a little bit about what makes the fight scene in Montreal and the province of Quebec what it is right now. Why is it so hot?
But first of all, I believe it's because there's a lot of talented fighters, talented coaches. There's a lot of good boxing gym. And so it would have been much more difficult 10 years ago to do that because the pool of talent was not as deep that there is now. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, yeah, to have the commitment, the partnership And the partnership also was very, very important, not only within our own organization, and that I'm talking about Dino Marquitello, Bernard, Alexandra, and Jean-Marc Aymons doing a good job with us too. It's also with corporate sponsors, L'Auto-Québec, the Casino of Montreal, Budweiser. These big partners helped us up very, very much, and that's putting everything all together. We were able to do a lot of events. No, we did 24 shows, our group alone last year. We are not going to be as many this year, but we're going to stay very active.
Yvon, talk to us about the rest of the guys in your pool of talent, like Jean-Pascal, Buddy Askery, the hopeful fighters that you're pinning your aspirations on for the gym group.
We are very, very happy with the group of boxers that we have now under contract. And Jean-Pascal, in his plan this year, we have 6 fights, and the last one will be in August in the Uniprix Stadium. And the goal is to have him in the top 5 or 6 in the world by that time. So he's going to fight stronger opposition from fight to fight, and because we really believe that this kid's got the real deal, and he's going to be one day world champion. We have Sébastien Demers. You know, Sébastien, his dream is to fight Joachim Elson, and I like that. I don't say that he's ready for Joachim Elson anytime soon, but he's in the same weight division. He is Canadian champion. We have a lot of boxers who are from 147 to 168. So that will generate a lot of activity and some spectacular fights also. There's another big event for us this year. There will be also the rematch between Patrice Leroux and David Cadieux. It's going to be in Trois-Rivières in early November. And the winner of that fight will really confirm his supremacy as a Canadian champion here in Canada. And the other fighters, Buddy Askery is going to, his goal, is to become Canadian champion. We have the Canadian champion with us. It's Victor Lupo. So they might heading up against each other before year end. And also, both of them, they have international aspiration. So we will give them that opportunity. So, you know, we have right now a little over 20 boxers, and all of them are going to have their day under the lights of on the boxing ring.
Yvon, I want to wish you the best of luck and a great 2007 season for you, and thanks for taking the time for doing this.
Thank you very much, Russ.
Okay, our poll question this week: which Canadian fighter is most deserving of a world title shot? Here are our choices. Feel free to send in your own at tsn.ca/boxing, or email us your choice at inthiscorner@tsn.ca. Got a choice, Coach?
You know what? Right now, I think it's going to be between Boutin and Alcin. Okay. Molitor's already got his shot.
Yeah, when we come back, the news notes in the boxing world, including a possible heavyweight unification bout. Stay tuned. Which gave fighters born in the former Soviet Union control of the 4 major heavyweight belts, has put him in a position for a unification match with Vladimir Klitschko on November 11th at New York's Madison Square Garden. But Moskaev is still pretty banged up after an extremely physical affair with Hasim Rahman, and he might not be able to go in time to face Klitschko.
And the Nevada State Athletic Commission suspended former 2-time lightweight champion Jose Luis Castillo for the remainder of 2006 and fined him the maximum $250,000 for his failure to make weight before a June 3rd fight with lightweight champion Diego Corrales. Also, Castillo is not allowed to sign for any fights below 140 pounds.
Expect the announcement of 2 new additions to the roster of Montreal-based promoter Yvon Michel, who gets their 3rd season underway on September 30th, with Jean-Pascal headlining a card at the Casino de Montreal. Making his pro debut will be Adonis Stevenson, a former Canadian senior champion, and the only member of our Commonwealth team to make the medal round, taking silver at the recent games in Melbourne, Australia. The Haitian-born super middleweight is regarded as one of the hardest punchers ever in the Canadian amateur ranks.
And controversial promoter Murad Muhammad has signed Evander Holyfield to a promotional deal. Last summer, Muhammad settled a lawsuit with Manny Pacquiao after being accused of skimming millions of dollars from his purse. It was one of the several questionable business dealings in a career in which he's also promoted Roy Jones, Larry Holmes, and Razor Ruddock, among others. Joe.
Okay, well, Russ, last week we asked you what you thought about Evander Holyfield's comeback bid, and well, almost a third of you think Holyfield can still contend in a rather weak division. 45% of respondents believe it's time for the real deal to hang him up for good, and I'd have to agree with that. And Russ, we have some sad news to pass along.
Yeah, Roger Donahue died. Now, obviously, many of you are not going to know them, but this is the guy who taught Marlon Brando to fight in the movie On the Waterfront. But most importantly, as a result of a fight that he had 55 years ago this week, how ironic, against George Flores in Madison Square Garden, he beat George Flores on an 8th-round knockout. George Flores subsequently died as a result of that fight. And as a result of that, from that moment on, the New York State Athletic Commission imposed a 30-day suspension for fighters who were knocked out previously, and it was a result of that fight. So that was Roger Donahue's contribution. A successful fighter never was able to be the same after that fight.
He also trained James Dean in the movie, too.
That's right, and James Dean was also supposed to star in his life story before he died, so quite ironic.
And back to news and notes, Russ, a fighter that you trained, Adonis Stevenson. He's going to be... Tell us what you know about it, Stevenson, who's making his debut.
You know what? This guy is one of the most explosive fighters, and without a doubt, the single hardest punching fighter I have ever trained. And I'm happy to be working with him in this upcoming fight. He's being trained right now with Daniel Trepanier, and this is going to be a great boost for him and for his career, and he's an exciting fighter. Watch, going to make a great pro.
Okay, some highlights now. The winner of the reality show, the contender Sergio Mora, facing Eric Regan in a middleweight bout that took place last week. And it was a pretty good bout. Now, Russ, we got a contender here who's a graduate of Contender Series who's actually a contender.
And he's looking good here. But here was a little bit of a controversy. Right off, Mora is called for hitting on the break. But what I thought, I mean, there were two bad calls by the referee. Look at the nice little move that Mora does. He wants to spin under the bigger guy and hit him with the left hook. Perfectly legal shot to do. And look at the way he's working. Gets on the inside, goes to the southpaw stance, digging the guy. Now watch, he does it again. Slips on the inside. Again, his hands are free. And the referee, in a bad position, is reaching over the taller fighter trying to break him, and he's warning Mora. That was a bad refereeing job because Mora was doing all the right things. Stepping over to the right side, banging him with left hooks. That's exactly what you do against the taller guy, and that was just a great job. Better job by the fighter than by what the referee did. But at the end of the day, it was Mora's aggression right down to the end. Regan stayed in there, but Mora's body attack, sliding in on the inside. Regan couldn't hold him on the outside, so Mora was able to get in there and do the work, and at the end of the day, it was all Mora.
Some great work inside as Sergio Mora remains unbeaten, and he wins a unanimous decision. When we return to In This Corner, your questions are in. Russ will dig deep and battle through the final flurry. Coming up next. On ESPN Classic, a classic night at the fights featuring Cassius Clay, the one, the only. Also, George Foreman and Ken Norton. A heavyweight title fight, and you don't want to blink or you might miss it.
This one goes back to 1974 in Caracas, Venezuela. You'll see the punching power of Foreman in this one. Oh! Oh!
Okay, you know what that noise means. It's time for Russ's final flurry. First up from Scott Buchanan of Sackville, New Brunswick. Now that Castillo's career has been rescued with his slap on the wrist, any word on who he might fight next?
Well, it's more than just a slap on the wrist. $250,000. That's like your yearly salary, and, you know, suspended until the new year. But I have news from the BBC is reporting that Ricky Hatton is now interested in taking this fight with Jose Luis Castillo. And what that tells me is the Hatton camp has realized that Ricky Hatton isn't as strong and as powerful as they thought he would be at 147 pounds, and they're looking to come back to the 140-pound mark, and Jose Luis Castillo looks to be the prime opponent for him. So look for that fight maybe to be made in the new year. That could be interesting.
Okay, Ricardo Viveros wants to know, do you think Roy Jones Jr. has turned the corner and can regain his titles and his former glory?
Joe, that's too early to tell, and I'm not going to base it on his last fight. I mean, I think the confidence certainly a little bit came back against Prince Badi Ajamu. You know, he got the win. He felt good, but it's certainly far from being the Roy Jones of old. So we're going to have to see when he steps up against some better opposition to see if Jones's confidence is back. It's easy to see that some of the skill level is there, but he certainly didn't look to have the speed that we once knew he had. So I'm not so sure yet.
Okay, Donovan Lovely wants to know, why does Jermaine Taylor seem content with a WBC crown and not try to unify the middleweight division?
You know, I feel that a lot of people pick on Jermaine Taylor a little bit, Joe, and I'm going to tell you why. Let's just sit back and reflect on this for a second. In his last 3 fights, he's fought Bernard Hopkins twice, and he's fought Winky Wright. At the time, and when you move along, he's fought the 2 guys who were ranked respectively 1 and 2 best pound for pound in boxing. And now he's going to take on Kasim Uma, another great fighter who throws 300 punches around. This guy's a machine, and we're still knocking the guy. You know, give him a little break. The guy is a good fighter. He works hard, and he's fighting good opposition, a lot better than some other guys are fighting.
Well, he's certainly not ducking anybody.
No, he certainly is not.
Jeff McKay writes in, why does one loss seem to ruin a boxer's marketability? Wouldn't it be less ducking and better fights of promoters and if the public looked for a talent instead of records?
Of their records?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's because of fans, and fans out there think that, oh, a guy lost the fight. He can't be any good, Joe. He lost the fight. You have a fighter walks along and says, yeah, hey, what's your record? Fan asks, what's your record? My record's 44-1. Oh, yeah? Who'd you lose to? Yeah. He beats 44 guys, but they want to know who he lost to. And you see, back in the old days, that didn't matter. It didn't matter when guys fought each other. They didn't have to have virgin records, because if you beat me, we knew that a month from now, we're fighting a rematch again. But now, because of television, we're so worried about having this perfect virgin record, and no one wants to fight anybody in a risky fight before they fight for a title. So, you know, I mean, it's crazy the way they do that sometimes.
Okay, Ivan Montiel, regular contributor, he wants to know, he says, this seems crazy, but wouldn't a rematch between Vitaly Klitschko and Lennox Lewis be great?
You know what? That's not going to happen. I can't see that happening, Joe. Both guys are retired, man. I don't see it happening.
Okay. Join us for next week's show, September 5th, midnight Eastern, 10 Pacific. And, Coach, before you go, this show, you're dedicating this to a special friend.
Yeah, I got to dedicate this show to a fighter of mine who tragically passed away last week in a bicycle accident. He was hit by a car, 25-year-old, former silver medalist at the national championships. 25-year-old Jan Dubé lost his life, and I'm dedicating this show to him and his family. God bless, brother. Rest in peace.
All right. For the coach, Russ Anber, I'm Joe Tilley. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next week.
Russ Anber's Clothing by Pellegrino Castronovo.